The power of transparency. A lot of people think that being transparent and being vulnerable are the same thing, but they're not. They do get used interchangeably when they shouldn't. They're not synonyms. They do have a lot in common in how they work, but what they really are by definition and function are actually a bit different. When you think of the word transparency, the root word being transparent, you think of see through. So when you're being transparent, you are just openly sharing information about yourself. It could just be factual information, straight to the point, honest and open. But when you're vulnerable, that is more emotionally speaking of you sharing something that, even though, if you think of it as an example, if someone has a glass house, standing outside the house, you may see the furniture, you may see some artwork on the wall. You could probably even see other parts of the house, like the kitchen, standing from outside, because the windows are transparent, because it's clear glass. So you can easily see into it. However, what you can't see from outside is what's in closets, in drawers, tucked away, hidden away, under a mattress, in lock boxes. The stuff, letting that out would be what being vulnerable is. It's the deeper rooted stuff, usually in conversation, emotional experiences and situations that are harder to share and more difficult to share, and things most people don't want other people to know about them, which is fair. And so people struggle with doing either. Honestly, I think vulnerable is being vulnerable is a little harder. That's why we like to say it takes strength to be vulnerable. A lot of people feel weak and sad and like, uh, I feel like I just want to keep this to myself. There's strength in being vulnerable because you're doing things most people won't do. It is a hard thing to do. So to do it requires bravery, courageousness, and strength. So why are we talking about this? Well, when it comes to raising children, we need to be more transparent. There's a time and a place for both. I do think you can be vulnerable with your children, but when we consider age appropriate conversations, sometimes being transparent is enough for teaching lessons. And so when you're raising a child, a lot of times parents like to hide information or omit information, especially when children misbehave. We want to act like we were so perfect growing up, and we weren't. Nobody is. We either were the same, if not worse, than the children we're raising. But a lot of people think if they do not share their experiences and what they've done with their children, then they are protecting or preventing their kids from doing it. And that cannot be further from the truth. A lot of things we think we're shielding or protecting our children from can lead them down that path. You can find a lot of research studies on when you've been abused, especially inappropriately as a child, the way you go about that in your parenting does not exactly protect your children. It doesn't cause it to happen, but it can be more likely to happen because you parenting out of fear, you are not using your experiences to teach your children the warning signs, right? A lot of us grew up, our parents didn't want to talk about sex. It didn't stop nobody from having sex. A lot of people were scared to not do it, but the conversation of not about sex did not prevent people from having sex. However, education around sex and the pros and cons and the truth about sex can prevent it because people can make an informed decision around it after they know the risk involved. And so otherwise you risk, children are curious by nature. That's how they learn, that's how they grow. If you don't tell them, they're going to find out. And I say, rule of thumb, it's better for you to tell them than somebody else because you don't know what other people will tell them. And if other people and children tell them first, you cannot control over what information the children choose to keep or hold on to or use as truth, right? If they have all their friends on social media tell them one thing and then you finally decide to address the issue, they've already decided what's truth or they decided to explore for the truth for themselves. So again, this is why not talking about it does not prevent or protect. However, although a lot of parents will swear that it's working, probably even in the comments, just because you don't know your kids aren't doing it doesn't mean they're not. As someone who worked in elementary school, middle school, as a teacher and a school counselor, I was a person your kids told the truth to. I'd often ask, does your parents know this? Why don't you talk to your parents about this? And they would give me their reasons why they don't, which I respected. Some of them were hard to believe, but that's a different conversation for another time. Moral of the story is all the things you think they weren't doing, they were. You think they don't have a boyfriend or girlfriend, they do. You think they're not having sex, they are. This is not 100% true for all children everywhere. Some of them do keep their innocence and purity and all those things. Some of them are rule followers, but a lot of times, more than not, kids are going against the grain, mostly because the lack of education is just sheer ignorance. parents are not explaining to their kids why they are giving them specific directions. I get it. You're grown. You can do what you want. Do what I do, not as do what I say, not as I do. That does not work. And as much as you think it's working, your child is probably giving you hell. Like that just does not work, and we need to let that go. And it's not great for building a close relationship with your child, which is what anyone should want. Because if you have the respect and relationship, the process of parenting will go smoother than normal because it's going to be hard regardless. Parenting is hard. So when you want your kids to be truthful with you, you should be truthful to them. I don't think you should tell your kids everything you were doing, especially depending on their age. But however, if you're giving your child a teachable lesson, a teachable moment, because I said so is not good enough. And it's giving you don't know why you saying no. A lot of times parents say no to stuff either out of fear or out of laziness and other things that are actually not valid reasons. And you can't explain, you don't even have a genuine reason. And I get it. As a grown up, you feel like you don't have to explain yourself. You don't. No is a complete sentence. But however, children being curious, they are going to go seeking the answer if you don't explain, or they go try the thing. If you don't tell them why they shouldn't have sex and you're having sex, because some they do, we know why y'all be having sex, they may go find out for themselves, as well as other things. You say don't do drugs, why not? Because I said so. They might go see why my friends are doing it, everybody's doing it, I see it, it looks cool, nobody's getting hurt by it, I don't see anything wrong with doing it, so they try it. And that can go for anything, even things that are not as serious, whether it's stealing, cursing, things like that. If they don't see anything wrong with it and you are not being the person educating them on the topic, this is wrong because this is bad, because this is not age appropriate, because I don't want you to do this until you're 16 or until you're 18, because again, you don't have to, but you should. Kids will find out. They will figure it out. Let me see what the problem is. Just like the old adage about kids touching the stove. Sometimes you say, don't touch it, it's hot, right? If you're thorough, you're going to burn yourself. That's going to hurt. And if you just say, don't touch it because I said so, but I don't, are you just being mean? And you have to understand from a kid's point of view who developmentally cannot understand and does not see things from your perspective, which a lot of parents forget. They're not putting one and two together to say, like, oh, I will get burned. They're not thinking about, oh, my mom cooks on the stove, so it must be hot. They're just like, you touch the stove, it's the stove. What's the problem? Why can't I touch the stove? They might just touch the stove and apply that analogy to other areas of life. Is this all the time? No. But we need to not act ignorant and overlook, because there's a lot of opportunity that we can help and teach our kids and protect them by giving them the education around certain topics ahead of time. Another rule of thumb, if they bring it up, it's time to talk about it. A lot of conversations we want to say, oh, I'm going to talk to them when they're 10. I'm going to talk to them when they're a teenager. If they ask you at 7, you should probably tell them at 7. Why? Because I just told you, if you don't tell them, somebody else will. And it's better for you to tell them most of the time than another 7-year-old or an 8-year-old or even a teenager or TikTok. God forbid they learn it on TikTok. And they are learning from TikTok. And for all of you who think your kids don't have social media, they do. They just join from somebody else's phone at school. I saw it all the time. You take their phone because they had an account. They're logging in from TVs. Don't tell them I told you, but they're logging in from TVs. So this is why it's good to be transparent. Tell your kids, hey, I understand why you want to do that. I understand that seems fun. I understand why you want a tattoo. I wanted a tattoo when I was 16 too. And tell them the truth. I think you should disclose appropriately. Again, age appropriate conversations, which will be another video in itself. But when it comes to being transparent, you can protect your kids because one, they can learn from your examples. Two, when it comes to more sensitive topics about autonomy and anatomy, when it comes to protecting your kids from being touched inappropriately, kids cannot tell you they're being touched inappropriately if they don't know what inappropriate touch is. The only way for them to know what inappropriate touch is for you to tell them. And that means we have to talk about body parts, and we probably have to talk about sex, and we have to talk about consent, and we have to talk about nicknames for private parts and the real names for private parts. Again, teaching your kids their body and how it works so that other people don't do things under a guise of something else to minimize the severity of what may be happening to them Kids need to be able to tell you. But if you call it all these cute little pet names and somebody gives a pet name, they think it's cute and fun because they are innocent. And then there's so many people who don't learn until they're adults or late teens that they were touched inappropriately when they were younger, but they didn't have the language for it. And so, no, we don't want it to happen. But again, not talking about it isn't going to prevent it from happening, but it's better to know because they can tell you sooner if they have the language. But in general, I just want you to get out your head that if you don't talk about it, it won't happen. If you don't talk about it, you probably won't find out. If you don't take anything else from what I'm saying, just know if you don't talk about it, you probably won't find out about it. So if you are hiding info, you are not relatable, and that also will interfere with your relationship with your children. You can get closer by being honest. If you just act as an authority figure who makes all the rules and tell everybody what to do when you pay the bills and you wear the pants, you're the king of the castle, you're probably mean and they don't like you and they don't want to talk to you because why would your kids talk to you about things that they feel like you're too good and you're too perfect to understand? If everything you're going to say is to condemn them or they're going to get grounded or get worse punishment, they have no reason to tell you. So when you are being transparent, again, I am not using the word vulnerable because vulnerable, I think, is for older kids. I think it's okay to tell your kids to an extent of like, I'm having a bad day. Mommy has a headache. I'm not feeling well because those things also make you relatable. But as far as like you being depressed and having certain types of thoughts or relationship problems, that's not age appropriate. That's not kid appropriate. Those are adult problems and you should see another adult about your adult issues. That's my philosophy on that. But I'm saying transparent because as kids grow, they also too can feel isolated and this can help prevent anxiety and depression if they feel like, oh, no one understands me, no one gets me. Your parents should be able to get you as a child. And the way you do that is being transparent. Oh, it's been a long day. I'm sorry that happened to you at school today. When things happen to me like that at work, you can talk about day-to-day things and be human. That's all I'm asking of you to do is be human. You can be a parent and be human without being their little friend, as we said. I'm just telling you to be open because your kids will need someone to talk to, and they will talk to everybody but you if they don't think they can talk to you. So there's power in transparency. Your kids will be closer, your relationship will be more open. It does not mean parenting becomes easier and your kids will be perfect little angels. That's unrealistic. However, you can change the whole trajectory of your relationship, especially if it's bad, by being transparent. Even as much as telling your kids your fears, hey, I overreacted because I was scared that you were going to turn out like my brother or turn out like your uncle. That's just being open. When you did this, it made me think of this. And that's why you should also apologize to your children. The same way you want them to apologize to everybody else in you when they upset you and disappoint you, you upset them and disappoint them too, quiet as it's kept. And it's okay and very human of you to say, I was wrong for that. I had a long day at work and I was upset and I took it out on you and I should not have done that. That was not fair to you. That was wrong. I apologize. That is being transparent and a little bit of vulnerability, but it's age appropriate. Because what's not okay is you taking the weight of the world out on them. Because guess what? When your kids have a bad day, you don't want them taking it out on you. That they get in trouble for doing that. You get upset about them doing that. So I'm saying, even the playing field. Your kids are human. They're just young humans. And we are to teach them how to be mature ones. But in order to teach them that, we have to be mature first. We have to be emotionally intelligent first. And we do that by modeling. Be transparent. There's power in transparency. Trust me.